Oh no. I was terrible at talking. I've never done this before. Oh
Uh,
no, man. We'll see. We'll see where we get to in about an hour, and we'll I don't know, take it from there. But
all right.
to start
Good,
with,
good
we
morning
need
to you
to
and good evening to us.
we need to put you like orient everything so Ricky
Yeah,
Flanders knows exactly what you're doing right now, because I think she is the only listener some days.
yeah, it sounds like I did see her clip thing that you put on for a few moments.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, what?
So yeah,
Oh,
so
start.
yeah, we're started. We're rolling. So where are you at these days? So where are you living? What are you doing?
Oh, okay.
Um,
Um,
what does life look like for Arthur Jumanji these days?
yeah. Firstly, it's not my real name. It's just my pseudonym for good reason because I was a cop for a number of years, as you know, in Australia, and the audience won't know that. But moved over to the States because my ex-wife is American, and my boy, and she got a job here, and she brought our young boys over, and I thought, yeah, let's try and start a life there. It didn't quite work out, but I'm definitely staying here for the boys who are like 6 and 8
Hmm.
at the moment. Yeah, and a few other things, and trying to make life work here.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
and because I couldn't really think of anything more creative, I got back into policing to get back into some more punishment. Probably one of the more dangerous cities on the planet. I don't know if it is. I don't think it's as dangerous as what they make it out to be. But you know, it's going to have its moments. So I'm now policing in Washington DC.
Hmm.
Just went through the academy and bit over a month out on the road here. So it's sort of like a bit nostalgic being out on the road policing again. A lot of times I'm sitting around and I'm watching the streets and I'm like, oh, this could be like a street in Melbourne where I used to police,
Hmm.
but just done a little bit differently.
So
So yeah,
what
so I'm
does
over
a
here.
day when you say out on the road? Like, so you just drive around in a car all day? What does a typical day look like for you?
What's patrolling as a police
Yeah,
officer?
yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. Most of the time, especially in this place, you're attending radio runs
Hmm.
rather than self-initiated tasks, which was more like what I was doing back in Melbourne, mainly because I worked in a unit where we were a bit more proactive and we weren't the main sort of van for a particular area. We were like a backfill unit. So when we weren't doing protests, because that's essentially what we're doing, we're public order. So when we weren't doing that, which is a lot of the times we weren't working at protests, we would backfill
Hmm.
suburbs and help out and all that kind of stuff. And we would do self-initiated tasks. So meaning we're like basically just like looking to see if there's if there's someone that need to be spoken to because it looks like they're doing something suspicious or whatever it may be. Just proactive patrolling, pulling
Hmm.
over vehicles, doing all that kind of stuff. But here it's different. Here there's usually more than enough work to go around, and they've got to just do the call outs to jobs. So that's what it seems like I'm doing at the moment. Um, I mean, there are proactive and units that do that kind of stuff, but they've got really strong Fourth Amendment rights here, which is rights on interacting with the public, like without warrants. So it's a bit tougher to sort of, I don't know, I'm not going to call it the wrong term, but shaking people down. You sort of have more ability to do that in Australia. You go up to a person and you'll sort of you'll ask him a few terms. You ask him a few things to see if you can identify whether they've said anything unusual to try and develop a search out of them. But you can't really do that over here in the States. It's far more difficult. Yeah.
Can you explain that a little bit more? Like, what would it look like in the States?
Well, you can't really just go up to a person walking on the streets and just go, "Hey, what are you up to?" Like is like an area of high drug activity. Like you don't mind if I run your name and make sure you don't have any warrants. Like you can't really do that kind of stuff where we would sort of do that back home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like in a basic form, it's kind of tricky to do, kind of tricky to say to like your audience and stuff, without getting into a lot of detail, and a lot of it, like I'm still sort of learning this myself, so I don't want to like speak out of turn, to law and policy that they've got here, especially because I don't really know what it looks like when you do a lot of self-initiated tasks here.
You were saying before we started as well, there was a big difference in the academy and the approaches when you went through that. Because obviously the first time you went through the academy, you were how old?
30. So I wasn't young. Yeah.
So you weren't young the first time, but in terms of, that was probably your peak fitness though, wasn't it? Around 30.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, from powerlifting and stuff like that, I mean, that was around about my best years, my late 20s.
And then this time you're going through as how old are you now? You're old.
45. Oh, so 44, 45 throughout that time. Yeah.
Yeah. Talk us through the differences, man, because they sound interesting, and some really fundamental, like principles about learning that would be fun to get into, but also kind of funny, just the cultural differences of doing anything hard in your mid 40s as opposed to your late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah. So the academy, so we're talking about, just to be clear for everybody, there was the academy I did in Australia versus the academy I did in America. Right. There's that, but then there's also like now I was like a lot. I mean, I'm keen now, but I'm not as enthusiastic as what I was, especially since I've sort of policed before. I kind of wanted to just get the training done with, learn the things I needed to learn, and not have to go through all the rigmarole of like, oh, your boots aren't polished perfectly and this is not done 100% perfect. You got to learn discipline. And I'm like, oh, dude, I know discipline, please. And I know it's not like this, like in real life, like out working a station. I know people's uniforms are atrocious and my uniform's better than theirs. So like, don't kind of, bullshit me kind of thing. I know. What's your swearing policy on this podcast?
No. Swear away. Go for it.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, like a lot of them, I'm just like, oh. But then, I said to myself before I started, like I had some rules in my head. I'm like, there's a lot of like whatever happens, you're gonna have to say yes sir, no sir. Just follow the process. Don't question it too much. Be a good student. You've been a teacher, you've been an instructor, you've been a police instructor before, which maybe the audience doesn't know either.
I will get into that.
Yeah, we can get into that. So don't be that jerk, because I know what it's like when I've been instructing, and you'll get some cops come in, and they obviously know a bit as well. Or they've been instructors themselves, and some are really good and they just listen and they're like, well, what would you like us to do now? That's the type of person I wanted to be going through. What would you like us to do now, sir? Kind of thing. So apart from small moments here and there, I was happy that, I sort of did that without causing too much trouble. But their differences.
Hang on a second. You said too much trouble and too often. So you're the kind of guy that finds it hard to not speak your mind. So how did you not speak your mind all the time when they're saying stuff that I've got this experience? I
just kept like repeating that in my head. Like every time I'd start slowly with a question, so an innocuous kind of question. And then I would gauge like if the instructor was receptive to what I was saying, and I'm like, okay, thank you. And then I wouldn't ask any follow-up questions. So I would just ask a very innocuous kind of question. They just don't buy into some of this stuff that these guys over here. I don't know why, but so it might just be like technologies that they use here. And I'm just like, well, this is like this is not what we should be using. This is like rubbish. Like, for example, they would use, so if you stopped on the side of the road and you want to make sure your vehicle stopped for a while, or there's another vehicle that's stopped that doesn't have lights, right? And you want to make sure that oncoming traffic doesn't smash into the back of this vehicle. So you'd put out a set of lights back home. But what they've got here is they've got these flares that you're lighting up, right? And they put us through this session on how to light up flares and prop them up and what angles to put it on. The angles are the same as what we would set it up, but we would just use lights, right? Red and blue flashing lights. And I said, look, there's a whole bunch of issues with this, right? Firstly, flares, if people don't know about them, like they get to like 1,000 degrees Celsius. So cops aren't all that smart, and they'll just like grab them. Even when they've gone out, they'll just grab them and maybe like throw them in the back of it, like the boot of a car or something like that. And that's like, firstly, they'll burn their hand and then they can burn their car, or they'll throw it in. They might throw it in the bush or something like that, right? Or if the flare is being lit over a grassed area, you can cause a fire. Like, it would definitely be a problem in Australia. It's a little bit more lush over here, but it could still be a problem. You could still start a grass fire potentially. Right. And also the flares go out every like 30 minutes. So you've got to like light more up. And I'm like, oh, so like, have you guys ever thought about lights, like having lit flares? Like, we got those back home. Like, that, firstly, they flash red and blue. So like, that's police. Mm-hmm. And secondly, like, they last for a lot longer. And thirdly, they're not like really, really hot and can cause fires and stuff like that, and like risky to light because they're a naked flame and all that. Like, I'll just say something like that, and you go, "Oh no, they're terrible." Like, the batteries can die on those. I'm like, what? The batteries can die on them? Like, these flares go out every 30 minutes, and like I told you, there's like a multiple list of things that are wrong with this thing. So I'm just like, when I heard that, he goes, "Oh no, they're terrible." Like, you can, the batteries will go out on them every 5 minutes. I'm like, what? That never happened. You just swap them out. You just use someone else's. I don't know. Like, it was just stuff like that. They just they try and run this department on like low funds, but they've also, maybe people just like, they just haven't thought of other alternatives, and they're not interested in listening either. Like, and like, another one is, we did a whole week of field sobriety testing. Like, you see on TV where people are doing like, now watch this, and they're doing that. Well, we did that, and I'm like, why aren't you using preliminary breath test devices as an initial measurement that takes about 7 seconds to do, and then it'll come up with a result that will give you an indicator of alcohol in their breath, and then you can take them back to the station and put them on a calibrated machine, which both Australia and the US require you to put them on a calibrated machine. But they've got an initial preliminary process of like, we indicate that like you're intoxicated while you're driving, we need you to come back, right? We use PBTs back home. They're like three and a half, I don't know, maybe $5,000 now, these devices. And that's what I suspect the reason why we don't use them over here. They just want the officers to do these sobriety tests, and they're like, oh no, they're not accurate. I'm like, I'll hold my tongue, and I'm like, not from my experience. They are very, very accurate, even though they are not a official device that we're going to be using, for court. You do the test later on, but they are far more accurate than like you trying to like look at a person's eyes and see if you've got like an nystagmus, which is like a shuddering of the eye, which occurs involuntarily when you're intoxicated, along with like the walk and turn test, and then you hold your foot in the air test, so the stand on one leg test. So we're getting people to run those tests, and I'm like, that's so subjective compared to just getting a person to blow into this device, and it takes so much longer as well. And they're just like, oh no, this is less accurate than the field sobriety testing. I'm like, oh, so I'm just like, I'm doing this or just like trying to bite my tongue. But, you know, I would ask a really innocuous question and then I see where it's going. And but these are the times that I actually mention stuff. Like there was hundreds of other things that were going on, Nathan. I never mentioned. Hundreds of things that were going on. I couldn't believe it. So, you know, someone like I think an instructor had a real like one of our union reps right towards the end. Like someone told him, I think someone mentioned something about the instructors, like like the students are the recruits are not happy about this, and he decided to like instead of being on our side, he goes, get up, everyone get up and say, could people stand up if you think this academy could have been improved? And literally like 3/4 of the class stood up, right? And he goes, go over there. It's like I'm reading the room here, and I'm like, this guy is on fire for some reason. So I was one of them that stood up. I was thinking not to stand up, but I'm like, nah, fuck this guy, right? So I stood up, and then he went through every single person. And he's like, what could be improved here? What's wrong with this academy? And I'm like, he comes to me, and I said a few things, and he's just in total denial. I'm like, he's in total denial about like things like, I go, look, the recruits are asking for more scenarios. And we're just not getting them in this academy. And we did a ton of scenarios back home. And I can tell you, like us here, like when I see these guys do scenarios, like it's nothing against them. They're not confident and they're not up to the level. And they're about to go out on the street in less than a month. And we've been here for like 9 months. And my academy was 6 months. And we're coming out of it better. And he's just like, no, you know what? You know what your problem is? It's like you guys aren't reading they call them general orders, which is our policies. And I'm like, what are you going to get out of reading a policy versus doing scenarios? That's absurd. You're telling all of us to go home at night and read our general orders or our policies. That's just the craziest stuff ever. People can't contextualize that stuff. And these guys are like, they're in their 20s. They need the real life exposure. This is what policing's all about, exposures. And I just don't understand what he was doing with that. And then in the end, when I wasn't winning that argument, right, this really got him. This absolutely, like, it wrecked him completely. Everyone laughed as well. I go, well, you know what, sir? Look, I understand. Look, I don't know what's happened before, but you've come in here. I can read your demeanour. You're upset about something. I don't know if something come across your desk where recruits were complaining about like the recruitment process and stuff. But I do have to say, I've been through 2 police academies now, and this ranks 2 out of 2. and everyone thought that was funny. And I don't think he knew I had an instructor background, because he said something like, you don't know how hard it is to work this program out. I'm working with the lieutenant. We got lieutenants over here. I'm working with the lieutenant to figure this stuff out. And I'm like, you do realize I was an instructor back in our academy as well, and we owned our program, and I helped like redesign and redevelop like parts of sessions and stuff. So I know exactly how difficult it is to difficult, easy, whatever you want to say, like tricky it is to sort of organise a training program. But we were able to do it. And I've got to say, this department has, in this academy, we've got a certain amount of classes. I'm thinking like about 120 recruits going through right now. We would have like 700 recruits going through and many more classes back home, all simultaneously with like 2 weeks between classes. Or 2 weeks between squads, and we've got squads that are like 4 to 8 weeks apart, and you can't figure this stuff out. Where's the problem? So don't go throwing stuff at me. Like, that I can't possibly defend. Like, you don't know what it's like working a program, because I actually do know what it's like working a training program, because I've like done it.
Yeah.
I haven't been like right up in the administrative area. I mean, I was an instructor, but I was assisting in that kind of stuff. So I'm pretty intimate with like all our programs back home, and we didn't have any downtime. We had a ton of downtime in this place, and that's why we come out and we were underdone. You don't want to be underdone in DC, that's for sure. But these guys are coming out underdone, and I feel sorry for some of the guys that I work with, because we were doing scenarios back home where you would have instructors acting like they've got mental health issues, and because that's who you're going to come across a lot in the streets, right? You're going to come across a lot of people that are not right, and we were really good at pushing them. And a lot of these kids haven't really talked to people all that much, certainly those types of people. So we needed to just pump them with like reps, and that's what we'd do back home, but they just didn't do that here. And I'm like, I was waiting for it to happen. I thought like, oh, look, maybe it'll happen somewhere like on somewhere down the line, but it just never happened. And I'm like, this is crazy stuff. And now I'm graduated. Oh, like, good luck for the rest of you guys, because you don't have this stuff. So, and anyway,
I'm going to guess that there's a bunch of people listening to this now in Australia just saying to themselves, "Oh, this explains a lot." Like what you're saying here about leaving the academy underdone, the lack of scenarios, those kind of things. I think there's a lot of things about US policing that Australians watch and just don't understand why is it like this. And I think you're bringing out some really important pieces here.
Well, one thing I do want to say, which we mentioned offline before, is they got a different training methodology here, and I just don't think that they're updated to where like world's best practice is. And world's best practice is designed in the States. Like, that's where we got a lot of our stuff. So I don't know why it hasn't really came here, but they're like very much I'm going to tell you off, and I'm dominating this kind of situation, like form of policing. Like I'm the power figure of authority, and you'll listen to me. So going through so that's kind of our stuff here, and that's not how people want to be spoken to. Like, DC is a very liberal city, so the cops are actually not too bad here. Like, they do understand they can't roll out being heroes. So so they kind of aren't, but you can see where like Australians might, and the rest of the world might get that idea when you watch police shows and stuff, because you can see how that can happen. You're going through the academy, and when you're trying your absolute best and let's say you make mistakes, whether it's something you've been told and you forgot, whether it's a scenario or whether it's just your discipline or your appearance, which is like they do that a lot in the academy. It doesn't matter which academy it is, but like, it's just like if you're going to train a person to do 100-meter sprints, if their start was terrible, right? Like, they didn't get the right start, and they lifted their body too early, which I know, like, from my basic knowledge of sprinting, it's like that's a no-no kind of thing. It's like, if you were training a sprinter or you're training a powerlifter and they stuff something up, they missed the groove on a squat or something, you don't say at the end of it, get down and give me 25 push-ups, do you? As a form to correct you. Like, you don't punish the person to correct them. You talk them through the problem, and you ask if that's what they wanted to do, did they execute it the right way? Because there might be a difference of minds between, like, they're doing exactly what they want, and like, then you got to go, oh, hang on, now that I know that that's exactly what you want to do, that's not how I see it. Right, number one, or they know what the right answer is. You get them to give you the right answer, so you're not treating them like idiots and just telling them like the thing that they already know. But just in the heat of the moment, you might not have grooved it right, or whatever it is on a squat. So you'll talk them through it. Like, they needed to ask more questions like that, but they're just like, that's wrong. Get down, run a lap around, the oval, and like that's how they solve problems here. By we would turn up in the morning. Doing roll call, and you got to be well presented, and all the recruits would talk about here is like, oh, are we going to get smoked today? That's the term, getting smoked, which is meaning like you're going to get punished. Yeah, like you're just working on fear. That's all that's the only idea these instructors seem to have had. And I felt at some points like I was like in a bizarro land or something, like everything was the opposite because like apart from one or two instructors, they're all kind of the same. They all just thought, well, the way to solve people's problems is by punishing them, and then they know that if they do it wrong, they're going to get punished, so they'll get it right the next time. It's like, well, maybe sometimes people need to be trained and coached. And it's like, you have been trained, you have been coached. It's like, well, not necessarily. There's other things going on as well. Maybe people got problems at home. Maybe something was out of their realm of things that they could have like done to correct whatever problem was occurring, you know. So I just thought it was really, really bizarre, and that's not how I instructed when I was back in the academy. I'd always ask a person like, is there any reason why, whatever it is, like you didn't polish your boots, or is there any reason why you didn't decide to get your baton out as a response to, that subject being aggressive towards you, I would always ask those questions because people are smart. Students are smart, even when they are young. They're smart, and they need to be treated like adults. It's an adult learning environment. So that's what we did back in Australia. We're pushing more towards an adult learning environment, like treating them like adults, not like kids, even though they're young, inexperienced, and haven't policed before. But it didn't really seem like it was here. Even though I got a lot of kudos from the instructors as I was going through. Still,
How do you think that punishment model? Or what's the effect of it? Like, what did you see? Do people actually get better from being punished, or are they just getting really good at being punished? So you get a good chest from doing all those push-ups, and your 5K time gets a little bit better because you're running laps, but you're still making the same mistakes.
I don't think it works all that well. I think part of the I kind of know why they're using it for. Like I sit down and I think about this, and their fitness requirements for here is much higher, and it needs to be much higher. There's certain things that go on in policing here, and it's not just the more violent environment, which I don't think it may not necessarily be a more violent environment over here. I mean, there might be some shootings and stuff, like more of that stuff going on, and maybe some more violent crimes. But as a cop, you're not necessarily the victim of them. But the way the arrest process, obviously, when you come in contact with a person that you need to arrest, that's what we're talking about, right? And the way things are done here is people know that they're going to go to jail, and at least jail for a day, even for a minor thing. Where in Australia, people knew that they'll get arrested and they'll get interviewed, and more likely they'll be released without any conditions or released on bail, right? Unless there's something really bad going on, they're going to be what they call remanded, which is you've been held until your court sitting. It seems like here you get arrested and everyone's been held until the next day, unless you get arrested early in the day. And I'm talking about real basic stuff. Like you could be arrested and spend a night in jail for having an open container of alcohol, like drinking that in the city. If you really want to do that, you could be put in jail for, like, that's a fine in Australia. It's not really a fine here. So there's a few really simple, basic things that would just be fines back in Australia that aren't here. And look, a lot of the officers here, they don't really process that. They're sort of like, they'll use their discretion, and they'll tell the person to tip out their liquor and move on in life. But if someone wants to do something with that or other things, they're going to be arrested. So if I knew I was going to be spending the night in jail, I'd be, hell no, I'm running. So
Yeah, okay. So the stakes are
so
immediately much higher
you,
with any
yeah, so
actual.
you need to be fitter because you might be
Mhm.
doing more runs. There's lots of more. It's like alleys and lots of tight streets in DC. Um, so there's a lot of times where you might need to get out of the car and move. And then also cuffing a person, that moment there is really tricky because people know that they're going to be like, they're going to jail for a bit. So when you grab a person and you're trying to work them to cuff them, that's a real problem. Where in Australia, like barely any times when, I mean, maybe it added up to a lot, but in terms of percentages, much lower percentage. A lot of cases, a person would just turn around and you just put, you put the cuffs on and you go, cool, all right, let's take you back to the station. We're going to interview you. And, if you got nothing outstanding, I'll work with you and we'll get you out of here. And, you'll have a court date later on. They knew that anyway. I didn't have to tell them in a lot of cases, especially if they've been around. But, so people know that when something's gone wrong, for them, they know they're going to spend a night in jail. I don't know if you know what that's like, but you wouldn't want to spend one night in jail, let alone several. And if you get arrested on a Friday night, it's Monday morning that you're going to be seeing a judge. So for those reasons, you need to be fitter. And I feel like that they were just doing full circle on this. I feel like punishment was kind of like a way to sort of keep us fit, but because otherwise, because they know that we wouldn't be doing our own fitness. So
Okay.
they have a bit of a different structure, which I didn't agree with, and I said to a few people, I go, well, I don't understand. Like, let's say that it's 9 months, right? What is it, like 36 weeks? This program here in Melbourne right now, it's 25 weeks, right? But what they do here is the first 12 weeks out of 36, they'll get you fit. They'll do a final fitness test. And then after that, you don't really see these fitness guys. You do some defense tactics and stuff, but it's not really high. You're not really getting fitter. You actually lose fitness throughout the academy. That's what most of us knew. So I'm like, this is unusual because back in Melbourne, like we were doing PT stuff all the way through. It was much more consistent. There were some tests we needed to pass along the way, but there was more consistency. And I'm thinking to myself, this is like conjugate training. It's like when you were doing a periodized program, it's like if you drop something out on a 12-week to 16-week program, if you do something and drop it out after 6 weeks, you're going to lose that training benefit like leading into your like final week on week 16. You've lost it 10 weeks down the track. I'm like, you need to keep peppering that thing that you're trying to, keep working. So like if you're doing assistant stuff when you're bench pressing, you don't really want to drop that assistant stuff. Like, get decent at it and then drop it off. You might drop it off slightly because you need to start focusing on your heavier benches, right? But you still need to do a little bit of that assistance work because if you drop it all away, then that benefit is dropped away. And I'm going, why are you doing this, guys? You need to do some consistent training throughout. Because otherwise people are losing their fitness and gaining weight before they graduate. And that's exactly what happened.
It makes total sense that would happen, right? Like you start to
Yep.
detrain pretty quickly. Probably about a
Yeah,
month
I
or
mean,
6 weeks. Like you've lost the training effect if you're not topping it up semi-regularly, surely.
I was really fit after 12 weeks. I got my running up and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, by the end of the program, like you're doing so much stuff that if it's not really built in, then I didn't really have the time to do all the extra fitness and stuff like that. And I have to be real careful with my body. So just things break down if I push myself hard these days. So so I detrained, but everyone did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's really weird. It does sound really weird. I want to get on to your stuff as an instructor as well, and that John Wick sport that you play and put on Instagram all the time.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
Um,
so you're still doing that, right? You still do what is it
Absolutely.
called? Yeah, give us a few details around that because I'm going to explain it really badly.
Oh,
I
all
just
right.
think
So,
you're playing John Wick games. So,
okay. All
but
right.
it
I
looks
mean, I'll
cool.
start.
It looks cool
How
as
this
shit,
sort of,
right?
I
It's
sort
awesome.
of got into it.
Yeah,
Because we actually had a shooting day one day. That was
yeah,
a
that was
fun day.
fun. Out of like way out the other side of Melbourne, wasn't it? Like it took us
That's
forever to
right.
get
Yeah,
there.
Carrum Downs. Yeah,
That's the
Carrum
one.
Downs is far southeast, which is actually near where PTC is, the home of PTC. For you
Oh,
guys
okay.
watching, yeah, it's not far
Yeah.
from there.
Oh, there you go.
So
Yeah,
look,
I had a lot of fun. I'm not a gun person, but I had a lot of fun that day.
yeah, I know how good are guns. I like guns, but I don't like gun violence. Put it that way.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not one of those guys. But yeah, shooting guns are awesome. So look. Anyway, I was policing. I started in Victoria Police. Started like 2010, right at the end of
Mhm.
2010. So 2011 graduated. And then I started to realize like we would do our requals once every 6 months, right? And that's like the only time you're going to be shooting a firearm. They don't get you into any extra firearms practice or anything like that. So I'm like, hang on, like shooting a firearm is kind of like playing like tennis or any skill based sport. It's skill based shooting a
Yep.
firearm, grip, technique, trigger control, very like detailed controls. Like you detrain very quickly when you're shooting guns. So I'm like, you know what? I enjoyed it a little bit, but I need a place to continue developing my shooting because if I ever need it one day, um, I don't want to be thinking what I'm doing. I want to just act and respond to the threat.
Mhm.
So I started to shoot with Victoria Police Pistol Club, which is defined as a civilian club, but they only really accept current and former police members. So it's pretty much where all their members are. So become a member there. That's what we shot that day. I was a member of another club as well towards the end, and really so I developed my shooting there. But they had this form of shooting, which is more like a target shooting kind of competition, which is what we did on that day. We're just standing and shooting. But even saying that, I remember you were like, "Oh my god!" Like you were breathing really hard and your heart
Oh
rate was
yeah.
high because
Yeah.
we were doing like there was prone to seated to
Yep.
getting up and standing on a barricade on the right side and then on a barricade to the left side. I think I got you doing that, and because we were
Yep.
shooting
Yeah, I
at
remember
like
all that. Yeah.
yeah, because we were shooting at 50 meters, it was a bit of a distance as well, and that gun's going to be moving around when your target's that far away. So we're doing shots at like that distance, and that is a very long shot for a handgun, by the way. So when your heart rate starts getting up, that course of fire was like close to it was about 2.5 minutes doing that course of fire. So I mean, yeah, you were like, wow, this is taxing.
Yeah, it was really intense. I remember thinking, like physically, it doesn't seem that hard. Like we do
Mm,
really physical things, but
mm,
I think it was the mental load that was making me sweat, and I would everything would fatigue so fast under that
mm.
level of pressure. And knowing that
Absolutely.
I had a weapon in my hand, something that can
Well,
cause
the
harm and
anxiety of the
kill,
weapon as
and
well.
the
Yeah,
anxiety of that, like,
yeah,
yeah, that did me
yeah,
in. Like I was really
absolutely.
tired. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is what I'll
Mm.
say to like when I was an instructor. I'll just do a side note before I come back to it. But when I was an instructor, I'd be like, "Hey guys, you need to like rest. We got a week." And so when you do, whether it was here or whether it was back in Australia, when I was instructing in Australia, we do a week long of dedicated shooting. So it's gun week, they call it,
Hmm.
where you got to pass your quals on the Thursday and the Friday. And I'm like, hey, look, there's some fit guys in this room, right? The guys are like 25 years old and you're in the prime of your life. And some of you dudes look like, Mr. Olympia. Um, not the open Mr. Olympias, hopefully, but you guys are fit, right?
Yeah.
You're strong, you're fit, all that kind of stuff. You will be tired at the end of the day, it's like you've run a marathon. Because if you're doing what I'm asking you to do, which is really concentrate on your grip and your trigger control and your sight alignment and sight picture, and your stance, and I'll make it's like doing drill. You know, if anyone's ever done drill, you're standing in a position, you're sweating. Anyone, like when I do drill, I'm sweating when I'm doing drill because you're trying to get those, you know, positions right and, you know, standing to attention and stuff like that. It's like people sweat up big time. So it's kind of like that when you're shooting. And, you know, these guys are like, man, you know, like I am fit, but God damn, I was like, I'm really tired at the end of these days. I'm like, yeah, you can't short your sleep this week. You need to get like 8 hours of sleep each night at least. Mm. So, yeah, so it's right. Like it's not just because you're a bigger guy or anything like that. At the time, it's like anyone's tired. So,
the other bit that I found was like that night. Like I remember that night, like sleeping like I was dead. And I remember we went to that steak place near your joint, and I know I ate a lot. And I think some of that as well was because it's really exciting shooting pistols. Like I think some of my fatigue afterwards as well was just, holy shit, that was lots of fun. And so I used everything, like everything got burnt out of me. It was a much different kind of tired to learning how to squat or bench or deadlift. It was like, global tiredness.
I think we ate at like Outback Jack's or something like that.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. And we only ate there because like we can get much more food. And I think there was like, now I also do recall you were like, how much were you weighing back then?
Oh, that was like 175.
Right. And I was like, maybe, let's say I was 100. I think I ate you that night.
You did. You did. I remember you commenting about it, and that we talked about it the following day, and because you said to me, you don't eat as much as what I think you would. Now, what's really interesting about that?
I've seen you eat a few times before, and like maybe I think you eat more times than what I would per day.
Yeah.
But you don't eat massive meals. Like we would eat the same size meal, but you just eat more times throughout the day.
Yeah, I use the frequency approach both to training and to eating.
Yeah, so I asked you one time, I go, how do I get up to, I think I need to get up to another weight class. I was moving up classes. And your advice was, don't ever be, you can't be caught out without food.
Yep.
Don't get caught out without food at any time. And I'm like, all right. So that was the mantra I had for whatever that cycle was to get up to weight, from moving from like 90 to 100 or something. Which is what the weight classes do back then.
And the other one that both me and Pritchard used to use is try not to get hungry. Because if you're trying to move up a weight class, like if you're trying to gain weight and you get hungry, you're falling behind.
Now I'm like hungry.
And remember, Steve went from 100 kilo class to over 125 in 2 years. Like
look, that obviously that really affected his health. I could see it. But it did get him places. I think he came third in the world. 20.
He had that Masters squat record as well.
Yeah, that's right. A few years after that or something. Yeah, so no, that's right. It was in 2012. He got the Master squat record. He destroyed that record, and world record. Probably doesn't hold it now, I would say. Someone else would have overtaken it. But I don't know. But he had the world record at the time, and he came third in the world behind Blaine. There was like, I was coaching him that day, and
was that up in Sweden?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, oh man, like Blaine missed a few lifts, and the dude that came second was only just in front of him, in front of Pritchard at the end.
That was that Swedish guy, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I'm like, Steve, I was like thinking, because I was with Wilkes, we were both coaching him, and we're like, Wilkes, if Blaine misses his final deadlift and bombs or something, because I think he like missed his first 2 deadlifts. If he bombs, so Blaine was like, if he just put anything up, his first deadlift was going to win. I'm like, if he doesn't get his deadlift up, then we're going to pick a number to beat this guy who was in second. There was someone from Europe, and like Steve could be the world champion. It was something like that was going on, and but then Blaine pulled his third lift. And and then the other guy, we just chose something else, but then the other guy was able, and Steve got his lift, but then the other guy got his lift as well, got in front. So he ended up being third. But that's third in the open super heavyweight. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the very first. It was called the Classic World Cup, wasn't it? Was it World Champs?
Yeah. First of your Raw.
It's the first Raw Worlds.
Yeah, and now the numbers are crazy. Like now the numbers that guys are lifting, like 13 years down the track is so much higher. I had national records, and I was like the national champ in equipped and raw, like total of 3 times. 2 times raw, no, 2 times equipped, 1 time raw.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't qualify because I think you pick the top 5 guys, because now they limit it. They never used to limit it, but now they limit it to like the top 5 guys go into the nationals or something. And I was looking at that and I'm like, I would not make a nationals, like to even compete, let alone. And that was me. That was my total, like my winning total at the like 2012s or whatever it was that I won. It's really been a while. 2012 is the last time.
Really? What comp? Wow, man. So do you remember what comp that was?
The very last comp.
The very last
My
comp.
very last comp was a local comp in like October or something in Melbourne.
Mm-hmm.
So 2012, I did maybe something before nationals, or maybe not. Maybe something before nationals. I just can't remember what part of the year it was. I did nationals, won nationals, went to the worlds, and then there was a local comp at the end of the year. That's how I usually did it. I would do either 3 or 4 per year. Mm-hmm. I didn't do a lot, but I usually do about 3 or 4 per year. So I would do a training cycle of something like 12 to 16 weeks, where some people would do, like Andrew Logan would do like two weekends in a row. He would do a comp. Like my body never really and he would lift like I saw him 2 weekends in a row. He like do an amazing, and then the week after that he would get either the same or beat that squat. And he did a few comps like that where he would do like very short spaces between competitions. And I'm like, how are you keeping yourself peaked like that? Because that doesn't happen to me. Like leading up to it, I might be okay. But then, the week after, just the way I peaked myself, the week after, if I did a comp, I would probably lift 20% lower. Like it would be terrible. So,
most I ever did in a short succession, I did 5 in 3 weeks.
Wow.
Arnold Classic, 3 comps in 3 days. Then 2 weeks later, Raw Nationals in Australia. PR'd my squat and bench again, total again, and then PR'd a week later back here in Perth.
All right.
It's really doable. It's really doable.
Wow.
And I think a lot of it is belief effects, because we watch strongmen do that all the time. Like you just train to be strong year round, and so that's kind of where my training went to. So that way I knew my max was my max about 360 days a year.
Wow.
It didn't really drop off
cool.
there. Yeah.
That is cool. Yeah. No, my last comp was 2012 because about a month after that, I was training a different cycle. And I was training heavier, and I hurt my lower back again, deadlifting. I hurt my lower back in 2009 squatting, and I hurt in training, and I hurt my lower back again in 2012 in training, deadlifting. And I was also having weird impingements going on in my left shoulder, and I was just dragging on my left side. So my bench was actually going down for the first time in 2012, and I'm like, oh, what's going on here? So there was a lot of things going on. It was definitely the right time to get out, because I'm actually still like physically I'm really capable. I just can't do the whole lifting like enormous weights anymore. But I can run, I can move. I'm still like relatively strong. I do weights a little bit differently these days. and fairly infrequently though. But yeah, just a lot of body weight movement. But if I kept lifting, I would have been in a lot of trouble. Like by 2015, I would have been in a lot of trouble, let alone 2025.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, my body's holding together okay, but yeah, I got just shoulder issues and lower back issues. But the good thing is I don't feel my lower back on any day. But if I deadlift or squat 120 kilos, which is still light for me, it's not like it's a max weight. It's still like nothing. At 120 kilos at an embarrassing weight, the very next day my back will seize up.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I'm like, oh, I got like problems. But on a daily basis, I'm walking around. I can move. I've got like enough flexibility and stuff like that, and I'm strong enough to like grab a person and get them to the ground. And but yeah, if I kept going, there was going to be problems. So I kind of needed to get out of lifting anyway. I was pretty much forced to get out of it in that sense.
And at that time in 2012, I remember you were with us in New Zealand a year later. You were coaching, weren't you? You still kept coaching a bit. And what was your involvement with Powerlifting Australia?
So I was coaching and reffing after 2012. 2013 I was coaching at the Commonwealths, and I might have reffed as well. 2014 South Africa Worlds, I was coaching and reffing there. And I don't know if I really went to much or did much after that, or after 2015 I might have done a few local comps as a ref. And that was because my ex-wife Priscilla was still competing then. So we were doing a bit of that stuff. We were doing a bit of coaching. Also, I was coaching her, and also just a ref as well. So,
what was your role with Powerlifting Australia, and when did that end? Because you used to do the website and were involved in administration of the sport for a little bit too, weren't you?
I don't know if I'd really call myself one of the administrators, but I mean, I did give myself, we sort of said, you're the chief information officer. So yeah, I did the website for quite a few years, maybe from 2006 all the way through to 2012, with a bit of on and off, but mainly I did it was solid throughout then, or at least till 2010. I don't know, but it was several years, maybe 5 years or so. So I redeveloped the website, which I think looks fairly similar to what I left it as. Actually, no, they did a revamp, but anyway, it was a mess before. It was like nothing, and nothing was updated.
Yeah.
And I made sure that there were entry forms for all the comps, and whatever else that was needed to be updated. And that really, at that time, if you think of the internet and what connectivity we had, 2006 to 2010, if you got your information on the web at that time, you're well ahead. So, because before that it was just, I don't know, it was a lot of word of mouth to do competitions and stuff before people were really had the websites up and running, and people were oh, where can we enter this, or is there a comp? People didn't even know if there were comps. So I had the entire calendar of competitions, and I was speaking to meet directors whether they were doing this comp this year or not, and then publishing all the results as well, and obviously keeping all the records up to date. So yeah, collected an archive of all the major events via John Myers, who was videotaping all those comps at the time. So I was collecting an archive of DVDs as well, so historical DVDs. So so I just made sure that that was up and running, and I was trying to be as consistent as possible. But that was about it. I wasn't involved in I don't know, anything else. I was just basically a delivery boy for the information for people.
Yeah, that's a way to put it. That's a way to put it.
Yeah, but I mean, that was something that we didn't really have for quite a,
Yeah,
for a lot of years. And
let's
people
go
didn't
back to
know what
John Myers. Let's go back to John Myers for a second, because I was talking to someone about this not so long ago, and then you compare it to what you get on Instagram now, what you get at most local competitions. Can you describe John Myers' version of like what we've got White Lights Media now and all these different companies, but John was doing it years and years ago with his little scratchy little setup.
Oh, look, I don't know what's going on now. John Myers.
I'll fill you in. I'll fill you in at the end. I'll tell you what's going on now.
John Myers would set up a tripod and he'd press play, and he would try and just get his best angle, and that would be the spot you've got for your video. So you can record stuff yourself, but I think back then, like, your phone wasn't. People these days will be like, "Oh, I'll just get my phone out and record a better angle or something like that." So our phones weren't good to take video.
We didn't have cameras. We didn't even
No,
have video.
so he had a proper camcorder. Yeah, he had a proper camcorder that had a good enough resolution that you go, "Oh yeah, it's pretty decent." But our phone cameras and stuff were like not even existent on most phones. So the best phone couldn't capture anything better than a camcorder then. So, but he would just be in one spot, and maybe would swap it between the squat and the bench to get a better spot, and that's all it was. And then what you would do is John would say, if you wanted to buy your DVD, just give me your address and give me whatever it was, $25. I don't know whatever it was.
$25 that covered the making of burning a CD and the postage, I think.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he probably made a few bucks off that, but it was more like a labor of love kind of thing. Maybe get a few bucks out of it, and so we should. But you would get the entire session that you are on. So it would be all the other lifters, not just yourself, not just your own lifts. And that's it.
And you just click through, like fast forward through to your next lift, and there you go. You got 9 lifts.
Yep. And sometimes you get some of the DVDs from John, and they'd like glitch or pause or they just didn't play because it's like, he's burning it like on a blank DVD or whatever it was back in the day. So yeah, and he would be good enough to send you another one.
Yeah, right.
And he would put it in a cover as well, a DVD cover, and he'd print off something for you and have the title on it. So yeah, so that's what it was back in the day.
Yeah, I had a whole bunch of Nationals DVDs on my bookshelf that are they're all either green or yellow and
yes,
like arranged by years that he would do.
I
loved those.
I think I still got them, and I brought them here. They're somewhere. I've got them in a box.
Yeah, I think in moving houses a few times, I'm pretty sure I've lost that box. There's a whole bunch of. I used to keep meat T-shirts and DVDs and stuff like that. I have no idea where that box is these days.
Yeah. I don't know now where my stuff would be, but I think I brought them over. But I don't. To be honest, I don't think those DVDs would run now.
Nah, I don't even have a DVD player to try it out. Who uses that stuff, man? Like, now, Tim, like it would blow your mind. You go to a local comp, like just a local comp, and there'll be 2 or 3 people with one, and they're all one company, and they'll have 2 or 3 people filming absolutely everything. You'll have like really good close-up shots of the lifting. You have moving, like people with like the, what do you call it, the gimbals and whatever, and they'll follow you around and have great candid shots, and then people out in the warm-up room, and then once the meet's done, 2 or 3 days later, like you pay them money to put together a package, and you get a full movie quality video package of your day.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that because
it's incredible. These kids these days have more footage of one competition than I have of my entire career.
Yeah, and you went to like Worlds and Nationals and stuff. And
it's just amazing how much video feedback is available for lifters now.
Yeah, and I never got to it, but when we're talking about the shooting stuff, I progressed from that target shooting sport to more of a practical, what you call a job. a John Wick
Wick.
kind of shooting. So even in that, so I started doing that form of shooting in 2017.
Okay.
And in those 8 years, the recording technology has improved dramatically. And now what dudes do is they put their camera on one of those stand things on top of a fence, you know, the ones that you can bend it and stuff like that. And these cameras, they'll point to what they know that you're the subject. So as you're running around on a stage doing your John Wick shooting, the camera will follow you shooting.
Oh, come on.
It's like it's following you shooting. And if you get a little bit of a distance away, because like, you know, you're moving down the path or something, it'll start zooming in on you. So it knows to zoom in.
That's cool.
Yeah, it knows to zoom in on you and stuff. And then other dudes have hat cams. So it'll see first person shooter kind of stuff. And then obviously other people are just videoing in third person. And then other dudes they'll do the third person. And then in the corner, they'll do like the first person, what the hat cam looks like. And then sometimes they flick between two of them when they want to, you know, like these guys are doing that kind of stuff. But these are guys that, these aren't even companies; these are just guys. So yeah, there's a bit of like recording technology going on in the shooting sports as well, and then people are actually recording people shooting stages with drones flying around as well now. So yeah, they're getting drones up.
I wonder what that would look like at a powerlifting competition. Like about 4 or 5 drones just hovering.
Yeah, now I've
hovering
suggested
around.
that someone's probably going to do it, but I don't know. Maybe like
I want to see that.
It'd throw people off, but I don't know. I don't think with the whole crowd and stuff, the little whir would be an issue, but maybe it is for somebody. I don't know.
With all the I don't think it's any more of an issue than some of the dumb things people yell out at powerlifting competitions.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean that'd be cool to see. Just don't have that drone like land on top of you when you're like squatting max effort weight or something, like crash into your head or something.
Actually, yeah, do that and let us see the video. I'd like that.
Yeah, so yeah, they got the recording technology for these shooting sports is getting better and better, and when you do that, you can. We're starting to get more information on how to become better as well. So it's like you can use like all these programs that have been out for a while, like Coach's Eye, you might have heard of. I'm sure you would have heard of it.
Yeah,
like that kind of. Yeah, that kind of stuff, like when you're breaking down stages. And there's like a company over here. There's probably several, but I remember going to a competition this year and as we're reading out, this stage is this many shots and all that kind of stuff. But before you get started on doing your walkthrough of the stage, just to let you know, there's this company called Final Boss. They're sponsoring. It's called Final Boss. They're sponsoring this stage, and they want to let you know that they will all your video that you send to them, they will analyze your video and break down your match where you can improve and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, video analysis, which there are a few places that have done that. I mean, several years ago, there was a company that started up that did virtual coaching. So I remember when, like back in the day, we used to do coaching seminars and things like that, and Ed Cohen might come and you'd do his thing for a weekend and stuff like that. And shooting sports was kind of similar, where you would get a professional come in, you would do a weekend of shooting, and you do that, and that still goes on. But they're actually getting smarter about it because, like, that's not how like improving somebody kind of works. You can't just like fly in and be a pro. People love that, by the way. It's the whole concept of guruism, where like a pro comes in and they can just tell you shit, and it could be shit, but they're just like extraordinarily talented, and they could be absolutely terrible coaches. And then you'll pay them $1,000, and then they'll leave at the end of the weekend, like with their pockets full of cash. And then you'll never see them again. And like, how much did you really improve? You're not going to improve because you forget everything. You need ongoing coaching, you know? So I like the concept of the virtual coaching thing, which like they're sort of cottoning on to doing that like in these parts as well. And when I'm coaching people, like a lot of times I'm like, if I'm coaching people in this practical shooting stuff that I do these days, like all the people that I coach are local, which is, you know, when I was a tennis coach before I got into powerlifting, you know, you would go to your local tennis coach.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That
You
you
know, I
were a
was a
tennis
tennis player.
coach.
Yeah, I was a tennis coach for a few years, but tennis is
Anyway.
like tennis is very broad. Yeah, it's a major sport in Australia and major sport in the world. So, if you wanted to do some tennis coaching, you would go to your local tennis coach. Like that would be a club there. It's just like golf. You'd have your local golf pro. Yeah, so you would see them ongoing. But when it comes to niche sports like powerlifting and practical shooting, is kind of the same. Where you know, there's not too many ranges that people like that are around the place. So, and the sport isn't all that big. So people are coming in from all these different states or different countries, and they'll do their coaching, and that's sort of it. They'll go, but that doesn't really work. That's not a really good model. You need that ongoing coaching. So all the people I coach. You know, I'm not a world beater, so it's always so the people I coach are going to be local anyway. Like I feel like I'm giving them more value than a pro that comes in and gives them a weekend and they're gone. Like I'm giving them much more value because I'll coach them for sessions, and then also like I'll go send me a video from that comp. I want to analyze your video as well. And then we'll talk about it, and then I'll give them a shooting program as well. So a lot of guys don't even give them shooting programs. I'll just go through stuff over a weekend. These pros that come in, and they won't give them like a cycle to work on. Like that was like the main thing when you're powerlifting. It's like, hey, I want to like we would talk to each other. We go, hey, what's your training cycle like? You know, it wouldn't be like yeah, you'd look at your technique, right? And it seems like with shooting, people are more interested in like, oh, what technique, and maybe a drill here or a drill there. But like piecing it all together on how you're going to train on a weekly basis is really important, and they don't really touch upon it too much with this like sport, I think. So I think it's a missed thing. And certainly
That's
pros.
interesting. I want to pick up on that. What with the discussions that we had in powerlifting, like when we were both getting started, sort of like 7, 8, 9, 10 around there. What I've noticed, they're really different to the conversations people are having the last couple of years. And so everyone talks about technique now in powerlifting. It's all about special techniques, and everybody, and not, I shouldn't say everybody, but the majority seem to think that there's just one way to train, and we all know what it is. So you're just going to train that way. And I'm like, I think both of those need to stay together. We need to be talking about how to do it, and also what we should be aiming at. So talking about technique, but then going, well, how do you improve the technique? What would you do to improve that bit? And I think that's what we talked about a lot, especially with like SFW and all the discussion forums that we used to have, is we were talking about both pieces at the same time. And I think that's lost a little bit especially in powerlifting at the moment.
Well, what we do know is this: there's been world champions that have had different training programs. So I mean, are they actually saying, oh, if they all did the same program, they would actually be even better?
Wow.
Or because I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's come about because of the rise of online coaching, right? And so with the online coaching, essentially what online coaches are trying to sell is certainty of outcome. And so you're going, if you do this, if you do it my way, you will get to here in the next 16 weeks. And you're like, oh shit, oh, that's not quite how it works. And so in trying to sell certainty, we've taken out this marvelous mystery, which is strength sports or strength training, and gone, well, yeah, we know all these different paths exist. We know a lot of people have done this, and most of them have done it slightly different. How are you going to get there? And so I think we used to have a lot of talks about strategy rather than technical execution. these days it's all about tactics rather than strategy.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I was saying to you offline, look, I think especially when it comes to things like powerlifting or bodybuilding or strongman, look, we definitely know that things that you do, like there's certain things that if you coach a person on that, it's like everybody has to do that. Otherwise, you're falling behind. And if you do, and if you, on the other side, if you're doing that, it's definitely wrong. Like you're losing out if you do that. Or it's just wrong, right? But then there's a whole bunch of stuff in the middle ground, which is individual preferences. And we're all, especially in powerlifting, like the way your body responds to developing strength is different to how my body responds as well. We got different levers, our muscle fibers, the way our brain sort of like perceives weight and how we've like, thinking about what we're doing when we're lifting and stuff like that. Like it's all like there's a lot of individual differences. So there's a lot of middle ground that like an elite powerlifter will develop over the years. Like through what they're feeling and stuff, and through their coach as well, like the feedback going back and forth and having a discussion point. Because what I think about how I felt something, I would still speak to you about it if you were my coach, because you might throw something at me that I didn't think about, and I was like, oh, now I'll think about it and I'll apply that and see what how it felt. And if that works, then I might apply that to my individual preference. So it's always good to have a coach because they can see something that you don't know. It's almost like if you get into legal trouble and you're a lawyer, you're still an idiot if you represent yourself. You should always get someone to represent you. So that's what I think about, like almost any sport. Like even if you are a coach and you are elite, you should have a coach as well.
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of us from our era that sort of go like we talk about how we're self-coached, but in reality, none of us really were. We were all using each other as coaches. Like we might have wrote our own programs, but then I know pretty much every program I wrote for 4 years, I would show you or Pritchard or maybe Peter Koika or whoever and go, what do you think of this? This is what I'm thinking. Pick it apart. Tell me why you think it's wrong. Tell me where you think I'm going right. What does it look like from your perspective? And so that, I think we were all coaching each other so much that we didn't realize that we weren't self-coached. We were being coached.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was really lucky. I was in a Southern Powerlifting Club. I don't know if they still exist. Are they still going on?
I think, well, obviously Ricky would be able to tell you more, but they still kind of exist. And I think a few of the girls are still training semi-regularly.
Yeah, so I started with Southern Powerlifting Club. So I was lucky enough to actually be in a club environment. And that was really, really good. Like a lot of powerlifters that I knew during my era were just like two dudes that were like, hey, let's go to a competition together and train up for a competition. Like they were just like a couple of dudes or a dude by himself just having a go. We only had a few structured clubs but every now and again you'd see dudes just pop in by themselves and lift. So they're doing it the hard way. And so
that was me, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
That was me when I dropped over to Brisbane for my second comp for nationals. And
absolutely. So you did it. You really did it the hard way. But so Steve Giffen and Mary Giffen were like sort of like running the show for Southern Powerlifting Club when I started. So Steve was my main coach. And like I would just ask him a million questions. He never really got bored of me. Like I would have got annoyed being asked so many questions, and he was answering them all. And like the amount of knowledge I knew after like a year, just there was like it was like 10 years. And if I didn't have him around and the other guys around, but especially him, it would have taken me a hell of a lot longer, and there just would have been stuff that I would have never known. So I was lucky enough to sort of have him and didn't have to really go all that far. And then later on, I went to the Melbourne Uni Powerlifting Club for the last couple of years.
Yeah,
So,
who was coaching at Melbourne Uni back in those days? Obviously,
well,
Wilkes was the head coach,
It was
but you
Robert
had some
Wilkes.
really great lifters too, didn't you?
But like by that time, and one thing I remember talking to Steve Giffen about is he regretted one thing where he had this person he was training, and he wrote everything for her program, and she was kind of like, oh, I don't know this person, by the way. It was before my time, and he said that she wasn't interested in knowing any of the whys, so she had to she just relied on him, and she's like, oh, what am I lifting now, right? And tell me how to lift it. And she did a few comps and improved, and it was all good and stuff like that. And then, like everything when you do a sport, and it's obviously not your living, if something gets in the way, it gets difficult. So I don't know if he had to move away or she moved away, but whatever it was kind of the old adage of like, you don't feed a person a fish, because they'll only be able to eat for a day. You teach them how to fish, because then they can eat for a lifetime. And he really regretted that when they separated. She just didn't know where to go, and she was out of the sport almost immediately. So that didn't happen with me. Like he made sure that, and he was answering all the questions that we ever had to ask any of us. And was basically coaching us to be coaches. So able to train ourselves, and if you're coaching someone to be a coach, then you can also coach other people too. So, but then when you leave, and he did leave, and then there was no real male dominance going on at Southern Powerlifting Club. So I think that's how I slowly proliferated to Melbourne Uni, because it wasn't a day where I go, hey guys, I'm leaving, I found a better club. It wasn't like that. It was just, I don't know, I was just training with some guys in Melbourne Uni. There was more guys there or something like that. And it ended up being that. But I was able to develop my programs, and I was developing my programs at Southern by myself for a few years, because Steve wasn't around for a lot of it. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is, like, it was good to have a coach and be guided, but then also to know how to coach yourself too. And we did sort of give feedback amongst each other, and when we were able to do that is like remotely, which was a bit more difficult back in. So
I like that. Obviously Steve was fairly influential for me and some of my stuff as well early on. And so my coaching practice has always been that I'm not coaching you how to do stuff. Like, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm coaching people that want to be coached properly. And like you said, if you spend a year with me, you should know way more after 12 months than what you do today. And then if you stick with me for 5 years, you should know heaps and heaps and heaps. So my goal as a coach every time is, whatever's in my head, eventually I want it to be in your head. And I want you to be at the point where now you're coming up with new ideas, because you're taking all of my stuff and you're filtering it through your style and your experience, and you're discovering all of these new things. I think it's a really different model of coaching than what we typically see, which is that instructor model where you go, this is the way to do it, and you're either doing it right or wrong. I like Steve's approach.
Do you think much of that stuff happens anymore? I would.
Yeah, a lot these days.
Oh wow! Because
Yeah,
I would.
there's a lot of people that like the attitude of, I'm paying someone to tell me what to do. I don't want to have to think about it.
Oh, so as a bit more of a background, we never paid Steve. It was more like we were just a group of lifters, but Steve was definitely the coach, and Mira was the coach of like the girls, basically. But we coach ourselves. But like, I couldn't believe it when I first, like, they got Southern Powerlifting Club. I was at a gym, right, and it just happened that gym had hosted this powerlifting club, and I'm like, hey, I want to do that. And then I was speaking to Steve, and I'm like, oh, how much is all your coaching and stuff? And like this is worth money, absolutely worth money. And he's like, well, we don't just accept anyone into our club, so we'll try you out for a few weeks, which is actually a really good thing. You have to kind of fit in, is basically what he's saying. but we're not asking for any money. And I'm like, is this a trick or something? Like, there's no way that this would be free. And you know, he could have sold all that stuff for sure.
Mm.
He was a phenomenal coach.
Oh, he really was.
Yeah.
You and him coached me to my first national win.
He's pretty he's good comp day coach as well.
Oh
That's
yeah,
probably his strength, because he really taps into your psyche and you know your driving forces and your motivation, and like, hey, this is the time that you need to be an animal right now, right? You need to be aggressive.
yeah. You know, every time I left Karratha to do a competition for about 3 years, Steve would handle me on the day, and that was some of the best lessons I ever learnt. Was like psychologically was with Steve.
Yeah, he's like, you really.
Just getting me zoned in and focused, and
Mm.
it was amazing.
He was really inspiring. He drove a lot of like just aggression. Like, he was like a man's man. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and he was what was the martial art that he did with the swords and all that sort of stuff as well?
Kendo or something.
Yeah, like he was really good. I saw those big samurai swords he's got.
He made like black belt as well
Mm.
in that.
Yeah, like he's a legit tough guy, strong
Yeah,
guy.
yeah, but yeah, he's very, very and not just that, like, he was a good like life coach as well. Like, you know, I was like 25 when I first turned up there, and you know, he definitely helped shape me as a man. So, you know, I really like the way he carried himself, like just like a real man's man, and also the way he carried himself would have been great as a police officer as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like fair, and honest, fair, you know, disciplined, and direct with people. But also, if you needed to be emotional, he definitely listened, and he had the right words as well. You can talk to him about anything if you wanted to. So, you know, he was really, really good. I model a lot of things on. I still, you know, think about, like, you know, all the interactions we had, because we had so many interactions over, you know, like 3 years, definitely, like a lot of interactions. And I'm like, man, this is what I need to be. You know, just the way he carries himself as a person. Like, it wasn't so much about powerlifting, but just as you know, how he carries himself as a person. A lot of people respected him as well. Like, anyone that come in contact with him is like, yeah, like, he's the man. So, you know, for people who don't know him, which is probably most people don't know him, you know, listening here, like, really like spot on as a human.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys, or a lot of men and women like that in the sport, have come and gone over the years, and this is one of the reasons why I have this podcast and talk to the so-called old timers like yourself, is to keep these stories alive. Because before, we used to talk about these people at competitions and you used to see them about the place, but with the sport developing and growing, it's hard to tell these stories all the time. So I kind of want there to be a way that we can talk about how great Mary Giffen was as a lifter, how dominant Mary was for 3 or 4 years in Australian powerlifting, the influence that Steve Giffen has had on, like, yourself, me, Paul Tesorio, who we had on here a while back as well, and then how that flows out into the para program in Australia, and so the indirect influence he's had there. He coached Stephen Pritchard, you know, Jasmine Higgs, all of these greats. Like, he's had a lot of influence. And not because he was out front telling people what to do, but just because the way he related to people and influencing people with who he was, more who he was than what he was saying, I think is a pretty terrific legacy to have.
Yep, no, you're spot on. Yep, that definitely is. Like, you know, at the end of the day, we're lifting weights, and it'll come and it'll go. It comes and it goes really quickly. For anyone who's like in the prime of their life and lifting right now, it's going to come and it can go really, really quickly. So,
so have fun with it. Just enjoy the shit out of it.
Yep, 7 to 10 years comes and goes, and then you got the rest of your life after it, and it's a long life after it. So what remains is what you are. not the numbers that you lifted, because someone's going to beat those numbers one day anyway, and they're going to think you're pathetic.
Yeah, like you said at the start, the numbers from 13 years ago wouldn't even qualify you for nationals, and
Right.
you won nationals with that, and that
Well,
should be.
national,
I think that should
and
be
held
in every
a
sport.
national record as well, national total record for about a
Did
year.
you get an Oceania record as well on any of those?
I can't remember. I mean, we had to start those records again as well, so I can't quite remember. But yeah, I held a national deadlift record for a year, and I held the total record for about half a year. Now they were always going to get beaten because those records, those classic records, just sort of started up. Yeah, it's good to see some of the guys. Some of the guys that I still used to lift with are still lifting, like Scott Hill. I see that he's still doing comps and stuff. I'm like, oh my god! Tell you what, if him and I went head to head, I'd be lucky to get half the weight that he's doing now.
Yeah, but you remember he's also half your height, and so he's just like a really strong garden gnome.
No, well, I'll beat him back in the day, but not anymore.
He's
so I'd beat him, he'd beat me, but yeah, he's I mean, he is a bit like about half a head shorter at least, but I mean, what I'm saying is I just don't lift the weights, and you're still going strong. Like,
Florian Locke is still going as well.
Yeah, he is, isn't he?
He's over in South Africa right now lifting.
Really?
Worlds. Yeah.
Really? Is there a Worlds going on right now?
World IPF World Masters are on right now in South Africa. Do you remember Rick Lewis from Sydney?
Yes. Yeah, from South.
Yeah, he's got the. I think he went 285.5 raw at over 60. So he's got the M3 squat world record.
Oh, that's insane.
Yeah, I think like
number.
63 or 64, and it's 285.5.
Oh, God. But some of these guys now are like, it's like they're all deadlifting over 400 now. And if you had a 300 deadlift, or 350 would be like, your Odell Manuel quality doing 350. But then, now dudes are just going over 400 like it's nothing. And like some of them are like 21 years old and stuff.
Yeah, there's a UK lifter in the IPF that I think he pulled 415 or 412 and a half. Maybe, and I think he's in the 125 class. He's still a junior.
Yeah.
It's incredible, man. Like the numbers, they don't mean what they used to mean. Like once you have people like Wizbicki and that group of people hit 400, then this new generation of lifters comes into the sport saying, oh yeah, people have been doing 400. Like that's the new norm.
Funny thing was I competed against that guy at the 2012 Worlds. So we were in the same weight class. He won it, and he was 22 at the time, and he deadlifted something like about 350 or 360 at the time, which was just insane. And now he's gotten on well past that. So yeah, and he looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger as well. Like he's pumped up as well. So yeah, he's like big muscles. Big muscles and lean. So I remember him, and he just was so young too. So it was good to see that he's like kicked on and done some really good things. Not the only one who's like pulling these crazy numbers over 400 on deads and stuff. But it's amazing that someone like him has been able to go for so long. I don't know how he's been able to go for that long without things going wrong with him.
Yeah, just smart, probably.
I think David James still lifts and stuff as well.
David James is around somewhere. I'm trying to track him down. I want to get him on here as well. And
he's at least coaching. I don't know how often he's competing.
He coached a guy to a Guinness World Record in something just recently. Maybe burpees or pull-ups or one of those sort of ones.
The guy did push-ups or something like that. It wasn't. It was something like that. He did like the world record for the most amount of push-ups or something. I don't know.
Yeah, one of those ones. Some body weight thing. David coached him on that one.
Yeah, I know. I did see that. He still lifts some good weights whenever he posts some stuff. I'm not sure if he's doing many comps now, but yeah, his body still looks like it's in good nick with some of the weights he's lifting. So yeah, he's doing all right. And I keep in touch with, I mean, a lot of people. Oh, they should know Sam Opat. That's a name that should be familiar with a few people in powerlifting in Australia. He's not the biggest or best lifter, but he was involved in like the administration of the sport at some point. Do you know him?
From Melbourne Uni, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, David's friend, glasses, tall guy.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
talked to him bumped him to he came to Perth for Nationals. He's coaching a junior 105 or junior 125 who's got an outrageously large squat, like doing really
right.
well. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So he's been lifting for quite a few years now, and he's over 50. He's like might be about 55 or something. But he's like, so he started late when he was like 48 or something like that, and he, you know, by his own admission, he's a decent lifter, but he's not a world beater or anything like that. So he just enjoys lifting weights and stuff like that. But yeah, he saw what I was doing, and he's like, "Hey, I want to do that." So he's been doing like my practical shooting sport for a few years now, actually.
Oh, has he? Okay.
Yes. So I don't know if you. So you, obviously that's brand new for you. He even come over to the States and we shot a match together.
Ah, so, man, no, I don't know why. Yeah, we caught up over a lot of stuff, but you didn't tell me that. So next time I'll ask
about that. No. We're still in contact a fair bit. Actually, we like message or even call each other like on a like almost a weekly basis because he wants to ask questions about this, that, the other. I was coaching him in shooting as well when I was back home, yeah, so yeah, I was coaching him a little bit back home. So yeah, we do a little bit of that. And also Simon Chan was a lifter from the past, and like most people won't know him, but yeah, he was doing a little bit of shooting with me also. So yeah, so got a couple of powers.
I'm not sure a lot of like people that remember Simon. I don't think many people would be comfortable with him playing with guns.
Yeah, no, he's okay. Yeah, he's
I like
okay.
Simon. He was good fun, good value.
Yeah, he's doing all right these days. Yeah, he's like 10 years younger than me. So yeah, he's about 35-ish now. But yeah, I mean, you make a good point. You probably shouldn't have someone like that play with firearms, but no, he's responsible. He's good.
Hey, as long as he's heavily supervised by people that we trust.
Yeah, no, he's just a character. That's all.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So there you go. That sort of like catches you up on with I guess my career and where I saw the differences in policing and then what led me to getting involved in practical shooting stuff. Making sure that I was competent with that if I ever needed it one day doing my work, and then also like a little bit of the background in powerlifting that almost nobody would know, especially the younger lifters would have no idea and wouldn't care, and nor would you. But they just make for good stories, I guess.
Well, we talk about this all the time now. Like when I still go back overseas every once in a while to major IPF comps, and it's just it's a chance to catch up with friends. Really, it's nothing else. I maintain once we stop lifting, all that we've got left is these stories, and the stories are fun, and it's the relation, and it's always stories about relationships. I don't think. Maybe I've got 2 stories that I tell about lifts that I've made somewhere, and the rest is about times we spent with different people. And so it's been awesome being up to catch up with you like this, because you are one of the people that features heavily in stories that I tell. We had some great times, and that's what I will forever treasure about powerlifting.
Yeah, and you know what, like, I kind of do a very similar kind of niche sport now, and I couldn't really powerlift anymore, and like I kind of like doing the activity. So like I was coaching people and I was also refereeing, but it wasn't it just there was not enough juice in the squeeze for me. So so I kind of discovered something else, and it's similar in the same kind of way where you go to these local competitions. And the good thing about the practical shooting that I do is you'd be competing every weekend if you wanted to, right? So unlike with powerlifting, you might catch up to people like once every few months at a competition. Well, I could potentially catch up to people like every weekend or every second weekend. And it's the same deal. It's like, we don't talk much about like, go, oh yeah, I shot this good. But once you've shot a stage or something like that, you don't really talk much about it. And knowing really, you win a match or you lose a match, it's like, oh yeah, I won the match. But then it's like quickly forgotten. The main thing was you caught up with these guys and you talk shit to each other whilst there's a lot of downtime when only one person's shooting at a time and you might have 15 people on a squad. So you're having a chat about guns or like, oh, what did you buy, or something else that's happening in your life, and then someone will stuff something up on a stage and you'll give them shit about it because we like doing that. So,
right, yeah. So no different to a powerlifting warm-up room.
Yeah, it's right. Yeah, it is pretty funny where you go, hey, remember that time that you did this and and you forgot where you were going, and then you missed like 3 targets completely. and then you just holstered your firearm and they're like, are you sure you're finished? And then you're like, oh no, I have to run over there and shoot those targets. And it's like everyone starts laughing. So it's like you got funny stories like that, and so it's kind of like I went from one thing to another. It's like it's just a vehicle. The sport is just a vehicle. Like I like competing, so that's why like I couldn't really sort of like do the whole powerlifting. I'm a coach, and I'm only a coach and only a referee. I would do it if I was still a competitor, but yeah. So I moved over to this because I like competing, just like most people. That sort of push towards like being elite in some kind of thing. It's like, yeah, I want to do that. Like I really love competing and stuff, but at the same time, a lot of it's always it's going to be about the people and the friends that you meet and catch up with every weekend. So before the day starts and at the end of the day, you'll talk yarns and then you talk some stuff after it as well. So it's just like being at a powerlifting comp. It's just a different vehicle.
The vehicle's important though. It's got to be a fun vehicle to hold your interest enough, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't have that vehicle at all. They like to go to the pub and the vehicle is drinking. So, I've never been, one to sort of do that actively, like the show Cheers or something like that, where you just go to the bar at the end of your workday or something. It's like, that's not what I want to do. So it's more productive.
Yeah, I could never imagine that.
Sport.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I mean,
I've said before, and I think you said something really simpler. I used to say, as soon as you leave, nobody will remember what you left, but they'll remember what kind of person you were, and they'll tell stories about that. Hopefully,
exactly. And I'm glad you got a show that is like this, because whether it's the practical shooting podcast or probably, I don't know any powerlifting podcast, but I'm sure it exists. Like people take themselves too seriously and they just talk about who's doing what in the sport and who's coming up and who's competing in the big numbers. But it's all like, I like how you've got this set up where it's about talking honestly and about the stories and the relationships and stuff like that, because that's what really remains. When it's all said and gone in 20 years' time.
Yeah, man, I think that's a good. Let's stop it there. I think.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Excellent.